Right. It's as if you go to see the movie, you want to, you go through a process, you get a thing, it's like inclusive. Like, here I got my thing, I'm allowed in. So, I don't think that's what happened. I think that's the inversion of the real reality bubble, where we want the backwards to be the front end, and it's like, this is how it was, and we went this way, because things go this way, and it's not how things really go. As well, that's going to be understood. Everything that we have that's stable here was brought in reverse backwards through some type of quantum teleprompter device, teleporter thing, and stitched into this world, nailed down so it doesn't float away. Because naturally everything just floats away, it's backwards. And what we see here is reflective of something else. And so that stuff does come in the right way, but not here. It's from another place, because you can't have that here, because here everything goes backwards. And if it were here for a second and it was here forever, it'd be gone, because that's how it goes. So whatever is still here, we're maintaining here through special means. And so it may be that we're actually being shown what we are in a way that enables us to understand it, in a way that we understand it because the conscious mind can't comprehend what's being filtered out. We are the jester, the conscious mind. It quite literally can only lie and tell the truth by omission, by what it can't fully comprehend. It is the narrow splice of information that is actually a 360-degree ray, a halo of infinite, continuous spectrum of meaning and wisdom and experience. In this system, we're only seeing one slice of that. It's infinitesimally the inversion of the wholeness that we actually reflect and come from. So what we see here is like having blinders on, or reflectors in front of our eyes, and where we can only see behind us, so we have to literally walk backwards and do stuff behind us with their other hands, if you will, like right is the left and left is the right. So what we learn in that state, and we do not readjust and calibrate to being the right way up, is actually delusion that takes us further away from the knowledge of the self and the truth and the true reality. This is why our math has to be adjusted, because the way things work here doesn't quite add up. And certain other things, and a ray, a frequency, a spectrum is missing from our consciousness and from the physical world, from our physical spectrum of energy. It's missing, it's taken out. And so ultimately, by creating a binaural frequency where two can be one, you add the missing spectrum, the missing frequency, the key, and it unlocks an enveloping, cascading algorithmic shift. I can't think of the word, a Fourier transform, where the outlined by omission shadow matter of this world unfolds to become the inverse of the heaven on the other side, which is the actual time space that the soul belongs to. The soul came here in inversion land. It's supposed to collect things consciously. Upon consciously entering back into the other domain, all the information inverts, and then the soul can accept that information and make sense of it in eternity. By breaking the barrier between the middle ground and entering into the earth domain, and having the throat and the heart, where the soul is, and the mind intersect, so that we have a greater sentience than we have emotional capacity, aka the reptilian mind is control of the neocortex. It makes it so that we're getting the information, the mana, the honey that's designed for the soul, and we're drinking it up and eating it up here, so that there's nothing when we get back. And we can't even use it here. It just rots. or we use it to see. It goes through a whole process. You can, if you use it here, you have to use it. It's like, that's what God did when He makes the universe. That's what your soul does from the other side. If you do it here, you have to learn how to do that, and you're just planting seeds. Same process. But again, in the wrong way, it doesn't work. And as well, it's still not the same. That it's like a conscious limiter. It'll be applicable when the limitations are removed, because there are conscious limitations that are remnants of a war, like a shadow time war. And so it makes it so that the majority of our conscious effort is wasted unless we're capable of operating in a manner that's kind of nearly at opposition, is primarily abstract, but is ultimately a kind of reflective inversion of the first instincts and the formatting of how we think and naturally feel. That you have to realize the first is an illusion. It's your brain processing. And when you hyper-process through the soul, it skips the brain. And so it's a different format, and that literally it's this whole, we've been programmed, so it works against us. Wow. So that is far down the rabbit hole if you wanted to know. We're talking about the show in the theaters and what we're seeing. So this is why you're in the theater, you're the fish, you're the character with the conscious mind, you're the conscious mind in the reality. And the only thing you cannot comprehend through that modality of awareness, the consciousness, is the fact that you're a conscious mind in a reality. That's the point. The soul sees that. What's larger, what's the abstraction, a different format of knowing. Okay, a knowing that's beyond perception. That's beyond the conscious linguistic format of thinking that the conscious mind uses and the associations that it connects and uses. So you have to see it without seeing it. It has to be inserted in a way, a story, a saga, what's the meaning of the story? What is the moral of the story? You have to see all of that and then perceive it. Like a computer could at various levels, but the point of a purely intellectual processing cannot perceive the moral and the internal meaning of things and what it means to the living essence. It can pick up rules and senses of moralities that are regurgitated formally in like places of education, but it can actually know what it means. And a person who doesn't know that can pretend they know, but until they actually know, they can't know. And knowing is not information, collecting information. It's knowing. It's something different. And so there's like this different process that's happening. Basically, we can't access the soul level unless we max out our conscious effort, meaning you'll only be able to really bring some information to the core of your seed system that permanently goes there if it's more or less life or death, or if it's applied with the same amount of effort unconsciously that we strive to procreate, to feed ourselves, to get away out of the moment of death or something like that, or to strive forward and achieve something for our society and our people and so on. If it's just like, but I want to know the truth. All right, well, don't eat that donut right now and mess your head up. No, then you don't want to know. And you have to do that until there is nothing you can say that I'm doing instead of knowing the truth before it actually begins to happen. So it's like a safeguard. But as well, if we need to know, it's like being trapped. But again, that's because somebody boosted everything. So now we know everything, but we can't control it emotionally. So now we have to go back, forget, and step ourselves up in accelerated patterns, like a gauntlet of soul gauntlet. It's time and space, soul event. But we get through it, and we just get back to where we were, which is, it's like, I don't know if you remember childhood where you think everything's good. Well, imagine being that way the whole time. And the whole society is based upon that, because what else would you do? And it's not pleasure-based, or it's not hedonistic, like children being hedonistic and all the candy and stuff like that. No, just seeing the simplicity of the world and enjoying it because you can't do anything else. Not because you can't, but because it's so good from that perspective. And again, that's an inversion of consciousness where, well, they just don't know about this, and that. Not true. If you do it right, they'll do fine. We can handle the truth from birth. We're designed to. We're designed to know how. I mean, the kids do it first. They leap up and fly through dimensions like angels, and they go, well, what are you afraid of? What's happening? It's like they're reforming themselves and coming and going, and it's insane. And then the adults can't handle it. They broke, So it's like we're made to do it. Our programming took us out of that, and if we're afraid of it, well, we're feeding another system, which is literally a cancerous growth that's fermenting and stinking shit, and you want to feed that, and it eats you. You become it. So, in this way, we have to hypnotize ourselves because the world that we're in is a form of hypnotism in itself, because that's how the mind works. It's literally just trance. Imagine that. If you believe in evolution, well, then we were here for millions of years. How didn't you go insane? Because we're all in a trance. We're literally trancing in and out. I'm not saying we did that, but the animals are doing that. And so we have our own. Our trances aren't, I ate leaves for a billion years and I turned in and grew wings for no. Am I getting everything else in order financially? Or if you're somebody who, I don't know, everybody that's claiming to bring something forth to people has to question whether they're bringing forth what they know to be truthfully, honestly, what they are portraying it as, and so on. It's honesty. It's literally just honesty. And in that sense, if we're lying to ourselves, if the conscious mind sees that and subconsciously it can't fill in by way of omission what we're actually doing, we can't dehypnotize ourselves. It's like taking the poison away. And so, if we were to be shown the truth, how would it happen? How could you do it? If we were in a movie, we're literally on the screen in a movie, characters on the show. How could we be shown that's happening? So what would people in the movie theater watching us on screen see? They might see people being pushed into a movie theater and forced to watch this movie. And when they go on screen, it's going to be confusing. They go on screen, these people that are in the movie theater now, that are actually in a movie, they see people in a movie getting forced into a movie theater while people in the movie are watching the people in the movie, and people outside the movie are watching the movie through the perspective of the people in the movie, watching the people in the movie, watching the movie in the movie that are on the outside of the movie. Like a loop. Ultimately, it's a lucid dream. It's a dream where you wake up in a scenario that you're not having a dream in. This is normally where I'm awakened. It's the scene and the set of the movie theater where wakefulness is, but it's inside the dream to see if you wake up, to see if you catch on. All it means is there's or like the architect in the Matrix, a matrix of movie screens, like a checkerboard, and two of them show the same thing in unison, and you might realize you're watching a movie screen of movie screens. Because it's a picture-in-picture, you get like a little glitch, an overlay, coincidence. You see a glitch in the Matrix. It's not when something happens twice, it's when you stumble in your dream into the setting, in the room, and the place where you're actually dreaming in. And you recreate reality and create a bridge where you can walk through and wake up with sentience. Same thing Inception was doing, but that's its own thing. They have to get to the same place to wake up, and so at the exit point, the phone, the streamlined communication system that goes into the electrical grid, the phone has to line up, so the electrical system has to line up, the spine has to line up in the Matrix to call the operator and exit, the exit point. Anyway, some people didn't want the Matrix, though. So maybe that's what's happening, and we're being shown we're in a movie theater. Or we're being shown this whole clown world and what it's doing and why and how. And ultimately that some of those gestures are literally characters that only exist on screen and don't actually have a place in the seats outside. And maybe that means something. But you must understand, if this is true, it only means what you think it means. You make the meaning, because the characters themselves can't. So the only way any change can happen is when the people who are having anything being done to them, whether they like it or not, waking up and making the choice to change themselves or anything. Their role in that story, their character role and the limitations in that story. And change the track up so that the whole story has to change, because the story can't force the main characters to change. It can put obstacles that are reflective of their own exploits or weaknesses, which are just what they asked for anyway, because that's what a movie's about. What are we going to sit here? And by winning that, overcoming that obstacle, knowing it's not real, just to get to the next part of the movie where we can show the truth, is the act of overcoming the illusion and becoming the truth. And living in truth. Because whatever fear comes up in that illusion, in that fake world that those characters know, is true. Because it has to first be present in you for them to understand it and know how to use it against you. And so it becomes it becomes meaningful. Even as the lines of paradoxes cross and recursively cycle back to one another, it becomes meaningful. and they become aligned in a larger and abstract way where everything is for the purpose of increasing sentience and making things better by restoring choice, the right to choice, or just simply choice, to the right to self, which is just simply self-awareness, increasing self-awareness.